a live about how prophetic women get destroyed. Esther versus Jezebel. So the scripture I'm going to read is Romans 3, verse 14. Their mouths are full of cursing and bitterness. So the first one I'll be talking about is spiritual abuse instead of spiritual growth. Um, when a prophetic woman is being abused, she's being gossiped about, going through humiliation rituals, and they're saying horrible stuff to her and they're putting her down. So instead of empowering her, helping her to be a godly woman, they're embarrassing her. They're making her feel embarrassed and ashamed. And this can destroy a prophetic woman. This can really hinder her growth because even labeling as well. I remember a leader will say to me, "Oh, you're getting bullied at school because you are a loser," and it's like, "Oh, you're nothing," and she'll put me down. And when I was at school, I dealt with a lot of bullying, and I dealt with a lot of not fitting in and stuff like that. And I used to get mocked by leaders. They used to say stuff like, "Oh, you're weird. You need to fit in." But as as a woman, as a godly woman, you need to empower kids and say, you know what, you're not supposed to fit in. You're supposed to be unique, and you are different. And sometimes when leaders will say stuff like, "Oh, you're a loser, you're this, you're that," that can destroy someone's self. That can destroy someone's self-esteem. That could make them feel like they're nothing, and they end up being people pleasers because they end up being people pleasers because they feel so embarrassed. They don't like themselves. This can cause identity issues. This can cause them to feel ashamed of themselves, and they go into isolation and they focus on other things. So spiritual abuse can really destroy a prophetic woman's identity and make her feel like she's nothing, make her feel like she's a waste of space and that she has no value. And this can lead to addictions, um, horrible behavior, rebellion, pride, and immoral behavior because she just feel like she has no worth and she feel like she has nothing to lose. And it's really important because some women, they're not empowered. They're torn down, and they do certain things. They can't undo it. And some women are what they do. They come out of character. They do things they're not proud of, and they don't think about the future. Because when I was in rebellion, I don't think about the future. I was like, oh, I have nothing to lose. Some women feel like they have nothing to lose. They feel like they have nothing to lose, that they're a loser, they don't fit in, and that they don't have nothing to lose, that they might as well just settle for crumbs. They have that spirit of rejection, that orphan spirit. They just settle for crumbs. They settle for anything. They feel like they have nothing to lose because of what's been said to them. They've been gossip about, and it's like, we're going through bullying at school, going through bullying, identity issues, hormones. Your body's changing. You're going through hygiene issues or something like that. You have puberty. You have body odor, and you can't tell if your body's changing or if it's witchcraft. So it's all these questions and shame and embarrassment, and I feel like women need to be more empowering. Like if someone has odor, if someone's going through hormones and puberty, you need to empower them and not mock them, embarrass them in front of people because it's so humiliating. Everybody knowing your business, everybody knowing your business, it can get really embarrassing. And some people walk away, they run away because they feel so embarrassed. Everybody knows their business, everybody knows their business, and they run away from church because they feel embarrassed. They some people are like, oh, she grew up in church. What happened? They're like, oh, she grew up in church. What happened? Why is she like this? And they're saying, oh, she was a church girl. I don't know what happened, but the humiliation rituals got us up. I don't know. Some people are very bitter. I know some leaders are very bitter. They grew up rough and didn't probably get counseling and therapy, and they're still broken, and some don't believe in therapy. Some people don't believe in counseling, so they bleed on others and they're bitter, and they just they're going through domestic violence. Some have been through sexual abuse. Some has been through trauma, neglect, abandonment, poverty, and they just pour out their hate on these kids, and they're not healed, and it just recycles, and it keeps recycling all the time. And what happens is that they keep trying to mentor these kids, and it's not mentoring, it's humiliation. Their aunties, their leaders and aunties had the strategy of a bully. They didn't realize it, thinking, "Oh, I turned out fine," and it's like, "Oh, I need to humble you," and it's like, no, that's not processing. That's not mentoring. Trying to humble someone, oh, you think you're all that, I need to put you in your place. That's bullying. You're insecure. That's something to do with processing. And these buzzwords in culture these days, they have all these different buzzwords like, oh, you need to be processed, you need to be mentored, and it's bullying, it's brainwashing, it's gaslighting, and maybe their aunties, their mothers did the same thing to them, and they think that, oh, I turned out fine. You need to go through this. And it's like, no, I want to be the generational curse breaker and say that's not mentoring. You're bullying. You're gaslighting. You're being manipulative, and that's not spiritual growth. That's spiritual abuse. I'm sorry that your auntie brainwashed you, gaslight you, and she put you down. She clipped your wings. She made you a shell of yourself, and you had identity issues because of your auntie. But that's not kingdom. That's not mentoring, and that's how some women go in rebellion. Because some women don't. Some women are just angry because their leaders, their mothers, and their spiritual mothers has put them down, and they're so angry they walk away from church. And it's because sometimes people say, "Oh, you're offended. Your feelings are hurt." They're not aware that you're doing witchcraft on them. When you talk down to them and say you're nothing, you're not gonna be nothing, and you are nothing. You're not gonna make it. And they say all these horrible stuff, and they walk away, not knowing it's a curse that needs to be broken. They walk away. They're angry. They're frustrated. No one supports them. No one stick up for them. They run away and they're angry, and no one says anything. But what they don't realize that was witchcraft. That was demonic. They run away, they're in rebellion, they don't know what happened. All they know is that they've got to protect the leaders, and they're angry. So they're in rebellion, they're in the world, and they're trying to ignore what happened in church. They can't process it. They can't process what happened. They can't process that they've been bullied. They can't process that there was Ahabs around the church and they were passive and they were enablers. They can't process it. All they know is they're angry. All they know is that they're bitter, they're angry, they hate how they're treated, and sometimes it's not even personal. Sometimes it's not personal. Sometimes the devil is using leaders to put women down. They use leaders to put women down and to make them second guess themselves. And sometimes it is personal. Maybe your mother's a Jezebel. Maybe your mother is very Jezebelic and she's controlling, and they're taking it out on you, and they're taking it out on the woman, on the little girl. Sometimes your mother is prophetic and they took it out on you. Sometimes they're jealous of what you have. You're a sport brat. Your daddy spoils you, and they're jealous that you have a good family. You're in a good family. They're jealous that you got a good dad that spoils you. You're a sport brat, and they're jealous of that because they grew up in a horrible environment. And sometimes they're jealous of your peace. They're jealous of the family you have, and they take it out. But when they're bullying you, you can't see that. You're young. You are young, and you're getting bullied. You don't know why you're getting bullied, but you feel embarrassed. You feel ashamed. You look at yourself. You feel like you're trash. You feel like you're nothing, and it makes you feel embarrassed. But you're not aware that they're pouring out their anger towards you because of what their aunties did to them. They're probably been abused, and they turned a blind eye. So, when it comes down to it, it's really, really important that we let little girls know that they have worth. This humbling tactics, oh, she needs to be humbled, she might grow up arrogant, and I need to tear her down. That's not kingdom. That's not kingdom at all. And it's so important it's really, really important to pour into these girls, because we have all these issues in the world: colorism, racism, bullying, and the workplace, in society as a whole. They're always picking on women, and some women even think that even modelling as well. They still tear down people's bodies and mock them, and you have online trolls and stuff like that. There's no such thing as, oh, we've got to humble her from the beginning, because at the end of the day, there's bullies online, there's bullies at the workplace, and it's so important that we plant a seed from when they're a kid, because it's a horrible world out there, and this pouring all these different seeds and saying, oh, you're nothing, you need to fit in, like, oh, you're weird, being told you're weird, you're stupid, you're this, you're that, and you're nothing, and embarrassing people and gossiping behind their back. It makes them feel embarrassed. You're embarrassing them by letting people know their dark secrets, their things that they've gone through. and you're embarrassing them, and everybody knows their business, and you're not making them feel safe. You're embarrassing them, and you're repeating the same cycle you felt. You probably felt bitter and angry, and now you're pouring out the same hatred that you had on yourself. It's self-hatred. So when it comes to spiritual abuse, it's not right. Doing witchcraft behind their back. People going through bad luck. Even kids. Some kids. They're special education. They're in special education. I was a special education needs kid, and sometimes they say that witchcraft can cause confusion, and it's like you have to make sure that it's not just a mental disability or like educational disability or something like that. You have to make sure that it's not witchcraft. Like sometimes confusion is coming from witchcraft, and sometimes body odor as well. 'Cause I know sometimes body odor, it could be hormonal change. It could be your hormones, your body's changing. It could be what you're eating. It could be neglect. You're not washing properly or something like that, and hygiene issues. You don't need to embarrass somebody. You don't need to. It doesn't need to be a public announcement. You can just talk to the person and tell them about their odor, and you could just make sure that make sure it's not witchcraft, make sure it's not depression. Sometimes there's baby Elijahs in church. They don't realize because everybody's so obsessed with themselves. Some people go to church because they want a sense of belonging. They're bored, or nothing wrong with wanting to go into church and having like a community, but sometimes we get so carried away with ourselves. We think me. We're like, this is my ministry, this is my territory. We're all territorial. Like all the women, we can't be territorial. We've got to be nurturing. You got to birth that gift and not think it's some people see kids as like their crutch. Oh, I need a therapist, I need a carer, I need a counsellor, I need someone to talk to, and they give birth to kids because they think about themselves. They're thinking, I need a therapist, I need a counsellor, because they weren't raised properly, and then they say they don't need a counsellor, but your kids are a counsellor. Your kids are your counsellor. You talk to them about everything. You go through every bitterness you go through. You're telling your kids about it because you're in denial. You do need counselling, and they have this mentality. This is my ministry, and you're gonna be humbled tonight. Like they have that mentality like, oh, I'm gonna humble you. So at the end of the day, it's really really important to put God first and deal with your traumas, deal with all the bitterness you have, and just be honest. Don't say, oh, my mum did the best she could, my auntie did the best she could, and she did everything, but you still pushing that hate on the other kids, and you're clearly not healed. If you're saying stuff like, my mum did the best she could, why are you pouring your hate on the little girl? If your aunties or leaders did the best they could, why are you so abusive to kids? They need spiritual growth. They need to grow spiritually. They need to know why they don't fit in at school. You telling them that they're weird, they're stupid, that's not gonna help. They're gonna try to be somebody else. Like, oh, maybe I'll try to be Nicki Minaj. Let me try to be Beyonce. They'll try to have identity issues and be somebody else because you said they were. You said that they were stupid. You said they were nobody. Now they're trying to look up to celebrities and think, oh, let me try to be Beyonce. Let me try to be Rihanna. They tried to be somebody else because you mocked them for who they were, and you said they need to fit in. And now they're watching TV and trying to personate other people because you said they were stupid. So it's so important that you need to tell them that they're fearfully and wonderfully made. You need to pour the scripture inside of them. You need to pour the scripture inside of them and not mock them, and not let the devil use you. And you gotta cast that spirit out and not start living it. And at the end of the day, and sometimes it's not godly, because sometimes trying to shame someone and publicly humiliating them is demonic. It's not coming from the Holy Spirit. That's a familiar spirit. That's the evil spirit. Want to embarrass somebody? That's not godly, and you need to take accountability for that. It's so important to take about accountability and realize that that's not godly. Trying to humiliate somebody, public rebuke, all this stuff is humiliating, and it's really important to know that. So that's the first one. The second one, mean women instead of Titus 2 women. Going to church shouldn't feel like a reality TV show. It shouldn't feel like they're being when little girls deal with mean women at such a young age. This can hinder their growth. That can make they can end up, the devil try to make them be side chicks because they feel like have no law. They don't like women from a young age because of all these horrible women in church. They're so catty and mean, and always gossiping, getting them in big grown women business, it can cause a strain. Like they all of a sudden they don't get along with mean girls. I mean, they don't get along with women in general. They have issues with women. Um, they have issues in networking, social climb. Like some people want to social climb, I get it, but when it comes to women's ministry and like friendship, sometimes that could be a strain because of early stages of mean girls. We have mothers criticizing women's bodies, saying, "Oh, I bloat a lot," and some women, mothers, spiritual mothers, they talk about their women's bodies, and they say, oh, you need to lose weight, criticizing their bodies so harshly, like criticizing their bodies and mocking them, saying, oh, you need to lose weight, oh, are you pregnant, all these different catty mean stuff. And it's really, really important that can destroy prophetic women. A mean, catty woman that's critical, that can make them feel so ashamed, and then they end up being so focused and obsessed with appearances and image and body, want to get their body done, and obsessed with social media and validation because their own mother didn't validate them. They mock their body, and when mothers see like when people see girls online, IG models, they think that, oh my gosh, where's her father, where's her dad, and sometimes it's not even the dad, it's mother issues, it's mummy issues. Their mother put their body down, and now they're online, and people are confused. But sometimes women can be very, very mean when it comes to women's bodies, and they need that validation from their mom. They needed that nurture, that you got a beautiful body, so they want to be so desperate for people's opinions when your own flesh and blood is putting you down. And it's like they're the ones supposed to pour into you and say your body's beautiful. Now they're online, they're humiliating themselves, they're first trapping online, and they're seeking validation. And it's even certain angles they do is because of what their mother said about their body. They said about their figure, like, oh, you need to lose weight, and they feel so ashamed. They're in a gym, and it's not even for health. It's not even for health reasons. They look at the mirror, and they're self conscious about themselves all the time because just what their mother said to them, what their auntie said to them, and they pick on their body, and they're self conscious, and they're so obsessed with their image because they know they weren't validated, they weren't accepted for who they are, their bodies weren't accepted, so they're so obsessed with their body. Next one is perverted men instead of Mordecai's. Esther, she was an orphan. She was an orphan. And so many creeps out there could have been like, she could have been destroyed by, like, she could have just been, constantly being sexually abused and had no mentoring whatsoever. And some women, they ended up being molested, sexually abused. Like, no, I was molested, and I felt so much shame. And the thing is, they never talk about the perverted men. They never talk about the open doors. Like sometimes kids get they see pornography at a young age, and there's so much open doors, and nobody ever addresses it in church or in general. They never talk about perverted men. They never talk about perverts. They always say, what was she wearing? It's like they never admitted that men are perverted. They always talk about Jezebel being a woman, and they talk about the Jezebel spirit, and it's always about women. And some men in church are very perverted. They can't control themselves, and it's never discussed. They never say that, oh, sorry that happened to you, that he's creepy, I'm sorry that happened. It's always that, oh my gosh, you see what she's wearing, do you see how she acts, you see how she rocks her hips, you see what she wears, you see that she's dating that person, and they said, oh, she's so fast. But it's like, it's never the man's fault, and this can make women angry, and it's actually a tactic to make women crazy, and they end up trying to avoid the situation by just dating. They don't want to go, they don't want to unpack what happened to them, so they end up just dating, they end up just showing their body, and they're trying to feel liberated because they feel like it's more comfortable to do that, instead of avoiding it. But they need someone to tell them that man was perverted, he was creepy, and I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry that you were violated like that, and you deserve to feel hurt, you deserve to feel violated, and I'm sorry that you felt that way. And all they needed was some aunties to say, I'm sorry that happened to you. But some are like, oh, that didn't happen, or what was you wearing? And they're trying to they're trying to delay the healing, so you can end up being rebellious. Because all you needed was someone to say, I'm sorry he had no self control, I'm sorry that he was creepy, I'm sorry that he just saw you as an object. Because prophetic women, they need to feel like they can have a voice. They need to feel like they can have a release because they carry so much burdens. They carry the burdens, and when a guy violates them, it can make them feel ashamed and dirty. They want to isolate, and some women, some women, some women and some men, they know that they're going through certain things, and they don't talk about it because they know that you're setting them free by accepting it. You're setting them free by saying, you know what, he's creepy, he's a pervert, and it could release some kind of relief, like, okay, I'm not the issue, I'm not dirty, he's creepy, he's perverted, he had no self control, and that releases when they hear that, it releases them, it can make them feel released, like, okay, they breathe and they feel, okay, thank you for validating me. But when they don't say nothing, when they say, oh yeah, Jezebel's a woman, and they try to make you feel like, oh yeah, seductress, Jezebel woman. They try to shift the blame and say Jezebel woman, and they don't try to make you. They're trying to brainwash you and not make you heal. So they don't talk about the perverted man. They don't talk about the man that has the Jezebel spirit in him. He's sexually immoral and he has no self control. And they don't talk about that. They just talk about the woman that has a tight dress. They neutralize it. They try to neutralize it, thinking we're not going to go to the deep. We're not going to go to the deep cause, to the main cause. We're just going to talk about the lipstick and the makeup because I'm insecure. That's how some women are. They know that women are insecure. They know women are insecure about their bodies. They know that there's a misogyny in church, and women don't like pretty women that have dresses on. They have tight dress, and they look good. They don't want to talk about the main cause that happened. They don't want to talk about the perverted man, because that will just expose everything, and the girl would start walking in purity and feeling pure about herself, and she'll feel whole and content, won't feel need for attention. But they have to brainwash girls into thinking. Yeah, you're the problem. What was he wearing? And they have this. Oh, what made it happen? They don't address the need for control. Like, it's part of the fruits of the spirit. He had no fruit of the spirit. He weren't patient. He had no self control, and what they do is, like, we can't talk about perverted men. Let's just talk about the dresses and the tight dresses and the lipstick and the hair. We've got to talk about the nails. We have to talk about different things. They're shallow. Church culture can be very shallow. They don't talk about the main cause. They just talk about lipstick, and they rather do that because they don't want to address the main issue, because the main issue can release that bondage that the women feel. They'll be like, oh, thank you for telling me, thank you for validating me. Oh, okay, he's creepy, he had no self control, he had no fruits of the spirit. I feel released. I feel like, oh my gosh, someone hears me, someone understands, and now they can feel like they can heal. Now they're healing. So they try to withhold healing. They're saying, oh, Jezebel's a woman, she had tight dress, she had lipstick. They don't talk about the perversion that happened before she acted that way. Because some girls are pure. Little girls are supposed to be pure and innocent. But once they're exposed to molestation, pornography, and, you know, every type of sexual abuse and all that stuff like that, then they start acting a certain way, thinking, "Oh my gosh, why are you wearing that lipstick? Why are you so male centered? Like, why are you wearing that dress?" They don't want to go down to the point, because if you go down to that big main issue, you can heal. You can be like, okay, this is where it coming from. You can now start to unpack and heal. But they'll rather just talk about your dress and tight dress and get you angry and make you run out of church. Next one is sabotage, manipulation, and control. When because sometimes women do want to serve in church. They do want to serve. They want to operate in their gifts, and they want to be in ministry. But sometimes people they're looking for weaknesses, and some bullies are looking for weaknesses. They're thinking to themselves, okay, what don't you like? Maybe they realize that you don't want to be on. Maybe you don't want. They realize that you want to be behind the scenes, and you don't want to be in the worship team singing. They probably realize that you don't want to be a singer. You don't want to be at the front, and that makes you feel nervous and scared. So they'll probably say to you, "Look, I know you want to serve in church, but the only thing we could do for you is, anything we've got available is for you to worship on stage." You're like, "No, don't worry, I don't want to do that. I want to be behind the scenes." And they say to you, "This is all we've got available right now." This is sabotage, because now that you said no, you don't feel comfortable, they're going around telling people that you're unreliable, that you're not ready for kingdom, that you're not ready to be processed, you're unteachable. And this is sabotage. This is like, they see your weaknesses and your strengths, and they go towards your weaknesses because they're intimidated, or even they're either intimidated, or they're insecure about their own self, they're jealous. They don't like you. They want to control you. They want to humiliate you, and they call it processing. And they're like, "Oh yeah, but she needs to be processed." There's like they want to humble you. They want to humiliate you. They want to embarrass you on the stage. Like, you don't want to be part of the worship team. And they say, "Oh yeah, please do it." Like, and they try, because you might say, oh, I want to do behind the scenes, and you're talking to them, and they're giving you options, and it's not something you want to do, and you're like, oh yeah, the worship team's good, the choir won't really hear your voice, and and you can do this, and you're like, you already told them that you want to work behind the scenes, and they're trying to play you into an answer, and when you say no, they might say she's unteachable, she's unreliable, but because they're so insecure, they felt so ashamed. You made them, like, some women are very insecure, so they're trying to push you away as much as possible. So they try to sabotage you so they can feel better. It's like they feel a sense of release when you let go, when you don't fight, when you don't say no, I'm gonna do behind the scenes, whether you like it or not. But what? Because when you say, you know what, no, I can't do that, and you walk away, set boundaries. They don't like boundaries, so they're gonna put you on punishment. They might end up being passive aggressive. They might just end up like putting you down and using the pulpit to put you down. Might say, oh, people, we can't even get people to worship on stage. They're so arrogant, and they might start throwing shit at you, and this can make you feel embarrassed. You might make you feel like you done something wrong. You set a boundary. You said something you weren't gonna do, and now they're making you look like you're not ready for kingdom. That you're not ready to grow. You're not ready to be in the prophetic. And like they'll say stuff like, "Oh, these people ain't ready. They're not teachable. You're not like Esther. You're like Jezebel. You're being rebellious right now for saying no." And you're not rebellious for saying no. You just set a boundary. You're not Jezebel for saying no. You don't feel comfortable with that, and that's okay. You don't feel comfortable with that. That's totally fine. And they try to make it look like you're a rebellious Jezebel for saying no. And this is certain things that insecure people do. They feel so embarrassed. They feel so ashamed, and they feel like we need to sabotage her. We need to focus on her weaknesses and get her out of here. And they try to push you down. And they had that mentality like, if I can't control you, if I can't humiliate you and put you down, you can't be here. And some prophetic women walk away because they thought humiliation is it's hurtful, it's hurting them, and being intimidated is just it's not a good feeling. So they just walk away. So they try to control you, and when you don't accept it, they just won't support you. They're not going to support you. They're not going to support your brand. They're not going to support your ministry. They're not going to support what you do. They leave you behind. You're like, I want to control you, or you get out of here. That's the mentality they have. If I can't control you, if I can't have a sense of control, you got to go. And that's why some prophetic women get destroyed by that. They walk away, and they're traumatized by the church because they try to control them and tell them what to do, and they try to politely say no, and they were seen as rebellious Jezebel just for saying no and having boundaries. Next one is unfair judgments. People being judgmental towards a prophetic woman. Sometimes you get unfair judgment. You're being misunderstood, and sometimes they have this view about you, and sometimes they operate in their flesh. They see your appearance and they see how you act, how quiet you are, and they question your motives. They might think that, oh, she's just money hungry. Me being an author, they might think, oh, she just cares about money. They won't think that I have a good heart. They won't think that I want to be kind and I just want to be creative. But they might see it as like, you know what, you're just hungry for money. Everything you're doing is for money. You're very quiet and you don't do much in church. You're very quiet and you just have this, your author and stuff like that. So they might feel like, oh, she's very quiet. She's very quiet. She keeps to herself and she's being creative online, but I'm not buying it. She just cares about money. And this can make you tap dance for people and perform. And, it's like you have to tap dance for them. And some people don't feel comfortable doing that. I know some prophetic women are very socially awkward and they try their best to, socialize and, social climb. But at the end of the day, they need to get discernment from God. They need to get discernment. If they keep questioning you, they should take it up with God. Someone shouldn't have to be a groupie and chase you down just to okay, you're a good person. Okay, thank you for embarrassing yourself. Thank you for humiliating yourself. Thank you for that tap dancing. I think you're prophetic now. No, it shouldn't be like that. People shouldn't have to chase you to get validation, and I understand that. I understand that. Sorry, my throat. I understand that. Like, you don't want to chase people. I understand that it feels because some people aren't even socially awkward. They're not accepted. Like it's like some people think they're socially. I know sometimes you can be socially awkward, but sometimes you're not socially awkward. They don't like you, and it's awkward. So it's like it's all right. It's okay to smile. I'll go talk to people all the time. You know, I go talk to people all the time. And sometimes when I do talk to people, people interrupt me, and it's like I'm not there. Like I'm talking to somebody, and someone comes and barges in and says hi to the person, and it's like I'm not there, and they didn't even acknowledge me. And I thought to myself, okay, that's embarrassing, that's humiliating, but let me just get on with it. And I thought, let me just get on with it and just let them carry on and walk away. I like socializing. I know sometimes it could be humiliating, and and I could validate myself and know that person's rude, and acknowledge spirit of rejection as well. I can acknowledge that it's spirit of rejection. I can acknowledge that the person's rude, and realize that socializing can be very painful. It can be very painful to socialize and network and social climb, but at the same time, I don't want to be a groupie. I don't like the feeling of being a groupie, and there's a difference between begging it, being a beg friend, and socializing fellowship. When someone's ignoring you, when people leave you on red on Instagram, or people ignore you, they walk straight past you, you smile at them, and they're walking straight past you, and you're smiling. Your body language is like, oh, let me say hi to you. But when they walk straight past you, and and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to socialize. Like, he didn't see me. Maybe it's spirit rejection. Maybe he can't see me. Maybe I'm visible. Maybe there's like a witchcraft spell, and he can't see me. And you're trying to jump and say it'd be more embarrassing. Like you jump in and you run after people. That's not social. That's not socializing. And some people, they use their insecurity to mock somebody, like, oh, I need to see you chase me before I can, you know. But when someone has that mentality, you just gotta walk away and leave them alone, because they want to see you humiliated, and they're thinking, oh, you know, you're not that friendly. But it's like they want to see you tap dance, they want to see you chase them, and you realize you can't chase people. They have to want to be catched. If you're chasing somebody, you're gonna get drained out and tired, and you're gonna hate ministry. You're gonna hate church if you feel a need to chase people and feel like you're pulling teeth to get people to talk to you. It'll feel painful, and that's what the devil wants. That's what people want. They want you to chase people, feel like it's hard. Fellowship should feel easy. It should feel like it should feel it should feel beautiful. It should feel like, oh, this is fun. But sometimes people are like, you have to go through hoops. You have to move the goalposts, and it's like you're not doing enough. And they have this entitlement. They objectify you because they're jealous of you. They objectify you. So it's really important to know that sometimes people have that mentality of like, oh, let me I need to humble you. Like I need to process you. No, they want to humble you, and they try to use all these different buzzwords. They try to use different buzzwords to justify their jealousy. Next one is unrequited love, crushes, and shame. Sometimes when a prophetic woman is going through spiritual warfare, she's going through stuff. You know, she has issues with family, betrayal, work issues, getting bullied at work, and maybe she just lost her job, whatever. And sometimes when a guy's nice, the devil uses her creativity and her wiring to embarrass her. She having all these fantasies in her head, and this can cause mental illnesses. This can cause shame. This can cause low self-esteem, and sometimes the devil uses your creativity to focus on fantasies and creativity. And and the thing is, when the women realize that the guy don't like them, it's like their self-esteem is completely crushed. But the thing is, they were imagining something that he wasn't anyway. Most of the time, these guys in their head is not what he actually is. He's actually a horrible person. He's actually immoral, and he's prideful. So the thing is, when it comes to liking a guy, it's okay if he doesn't like you back, it's fine. But the thing is, it's important for prophetic women to read the room, and to understand that if he hasn't said that he wants to pursue you, leave it there. If he's not being clear and saying, this is what I want to do, I want to take you out on a date, I want to do this, I want to do that, just leave it. Like, if sometimes prophetic women are treated like garbage, and sometimes people hate them so much that when a guy smiles at them and he's nice, they think that he likes her. And it could be really bad, because they want that sisterhood, but they keep getting betrayed. They keep going through spiritual warfare, friendship trauma, friendship betrayal. So when they see a guy be nice to her, she thinks, oh, he likes me. No, he doesn't. And it's like, wait for him to say it first. Wait for him to actually say the words and pursue you. Don't get into delusion and fantasies in your head thinking, oh, Cinderella, you're gonna get saved. And it's just like, Some of these men are very broken themselves. They have identity issues too, and they don't have that support system either. And they're broken as well. They're bitter as well. They don't have them. They have mother issues. They have father issues. They have issues too. And you having this fantasy in your head. You have this fictional character, and he's not that. You think about Boaz and stuff like that, and you think he's gonna be a provider. He's gonna be very protective, but he's broken himself. He's going through spiritual warfare. He got job issues. He hasn't got a job. He feels powerless, and maybe he's just being nice. Maybe he's playing games. Maybe he's playing mind games because he doesn't like his life either. He feels powerless too. He feels emasculated, and he feels embarrassed and bossed around, and he doesn't like his life, and he's playing these mind games so he can feel better about himself. Just want a bit of attention. He got spirit of rejection, and he just wants a bit of attention. You're buying it thinking it's something more when he just wants a bit of attention. So it's really important not to when it comes to these videos online saying about, oh, your kingdom husband and stuff like that, and your spouse is coming, oh, Cinderella, he's coming, and it's like sometimes these guys they're broken themselves. They need healing too. They become son husbands. They're providers too. So they provide for their mum. They are in a soul tie with their mum already. So it's like you have to be very, very careful with all these fantasies in your head, because that's how prophetic women can get destroyed. They're thinking, oh, I'll leave in church. Some people leave church altogether because they see a guy and he comes in with a whirling girl. She doesn't read scripture. She doesn't read the Bible, nothing like that. And she's worldly, and the prophetic woman feels embarrassed and feels, oh my gosh, I've been fasting, I've been praying, I've been preparing myself, and he just comes in with a whirly girl, and she feels embarrassed. She feels like, oh, he came in with a whirling girl, and she's not even Christian and stuff like that, and they feel ashamed, and it's like, you shouldn't want somebody that's like a lukewarm. You shouldn't want a lukewarm Christian guy. You shouldn't want a guy that's like worldly and he's lukewarm. He's a baby Christian. You shouldn't want that. That'd be warfare for a perfect woman. That'd be warfare. That won't be that. You might look good on a Sunday together, but during the whole week it'd be spiritual warfare, and you're already going through issues already. You're going through issues already, and you're going through stuff, and it's like, he will just make it worse. He won't even pray for you. He's not been praying properly. He's not been praying. He doesn't pray consistently. So it's like you asking for warfare. Like if he came in with a whirling woman, you think, oh, I dodged a bullet. You shouldn't be like, oh, it should have been me. And it's like, why would you want that? Why would you want that warfare? Why would you want that warfare? Why would you want that day in and day out? Someone insecure and weak like that. You can't have a guy that's passive and weak and power obsessed and rebellious and going for whirling girl. Why would you want someone like that? Why would you want a guy that's lukewarm, can't pray properly, and then he's not really in kingdom. He's just halfway in, halfway out. That'll be warfare for you. You might look good on Sunday, but from the week you'll be going through witchcraft attacks. You'll be going through different stuff. He'll be trying to humble you every single day, trying to humble you because he feels powerless and emasculated by his pastor. His bossy pastor emasculates him, and he feels embarrassed. And he's in rebellion. And that's why sometimes when you see that happen, when you see him with a whirling girl, you don't go, oh my gosh, I'm missing out. You're not missing out. He felt powerless by his pastor. His pastor emasculated him, and his pastor emasculated him, and he gets bossed around by his pastor. He's social climbing, but he's not really having a personal relationship with God. And he's like, he's talking to he's been with a worldly woman. You're not missing out. He's passive. He can't lead. He has identity issues. He has an orphan spirit. Everything's competition. When if you're in purpose and stuff like that, he'll try to humble you. He tries to silence you. Go, oh, who do you think you are? He'll compete with you. You might say, I've got a new business, and he goes, oh, I've got a new business too. He'll be copying you constantly, and it'll be warfare. It'll be torture. You can't even do your thing. You can't even be yourself because he's always behind you, trying to outshine you because he got the orphan spirit. He's just behind you, constantly competing with you. And you see him with a whirling girl, and you think, oh, that should have been me. Why would you want that? You'd be constantly in warfare. So you shouldn't have that mentality like, oh my gosh, he came with a whirling girl. Like, you shouldn't have that. You shouldn't be, oh, it should be me. It's not fair. It is fair. He's not praying. He's not reading his Bible, and he's not leading. He's being passive in an Ahab. And the thing is about worldly women, they don't understand the godly world. They don't understand. So they'll probably be inspired and they'd be curious, but they won't understand. So next one is which is kind of the same thing, Ahab men and misogynistic men. This can destroy a prophetic woman because he's trying to silence her. He feels weak already. He feels emasculated by his past already. He feels emasculated. He feels bossed around. He don't have power. He's social climbing. He's power hungry. He's looking for power, and he's prideful. He's arrogant. Can't take correction. and he's not leading, so he'll try to silence you. So, oh, okay, I don't feel powerful. You're coming down with me. You're coming down with me. I feel powerless. I feel stupid. I feel emasculated. I feel controlled. You're gonna come down with me. You're coming down with me. I feel powerless. I don't feel like I have control. So you're coming down with me. And these men are passive. They're weak. They're angry little boys that want power, and they're not getting it. And they think that social climate is the answer. They think social climate is the answer, when it's really praying to God, being humble, being able to be corrected when they're prideful. So they end up being the bossy, arrogant pastor that can't be corrected too. And it's like a cycle. Two arrogant pastors, lot of arrogant pastors is arrogant and bossy, and they want power. They're social climbing, but there's no real power. It's just the social climbing, and it's like they're angry little boys there, and they're like, oh, and that's why you always see it. You always see it in church, a guy like, oh, I need to humble her. I'm gonna come in with a girl that's opposite. If you're a curvy woman, and he was talking to you, if he was pursuing you and you're a curvy woman, he might come into church with a skinny girl to humble you. If you're light skinned, he'll come in the next week with a dark skinned girl and try to humble you, or a light skinned girl and try to humble you, a different kind of woman to humble you. They love humbling women. They're insecure little boys. They're very, very insecure, and they'll come in. Oh, I'm gonna come, like, if you're like, you know, they will get the opposite to humble you. Like, if you're a boss lady, and he comes in with someone that's wants to be a stay-at-home mum, and he just come in try to humble you, and it's like this because they feel powerless. They're not king. They don't feel like kings. Esther's need kings. They can't have peasants. They can't have someone that's trying to come humble them every 5 seconds. Can't have someone trying to humble them. They can't have an Ahab silencing their voice. They need a king that will say to them, you know what, I'm sorry you've been abused. I saw that you've been silenced, but I'm going to empower you. I've got influence, and I can empower you too. You don't need peasants and Ahabs that are just weak. They're very, very weak and passive, angry little boys that have no power. Prophetic women can't have that. Can't have misogynistic men will tear down prophetic women and silence their voice because they feel powerless themselves, and the Jezebel is emasculating them, and they feel so powerless. So it's really important that to know that prophetic women can be destroyed by a misogynistic man, as a bully that's controlling, that silence their voice. Next one is getting exploited, scammed, and used for their own selfish ambition. Some Jezebels, they are very exploitive, and they use people, especially prophetic women. They're wiring, they're kind, they can't say no. So when you keep saying yes all the time, you say yes, you give your money, you give your resources, you give your time, and there comes a point when it gets too much. Sometimes it gets too much. This can mess with your mental health, because you're not even valued for your time. You're constantly getting your time wasted. You're constantly getting your time used up. And at the end of the day, God don't like injustice. God don't like injustice. So when you keep using somebody and using somebody as a stepping stool, it could burn somebody out, because you right now you're being unrealistic. You have unrealistic expectations. You're using them as a slave. People get carried away with power, money. They get carried away with power, money, and thinking, I need to use you constantly. I need to use you and use you and use you. And some prophetic women can't say no. They're people pleasers. They're codependent. They're codependent. Some prophetic women are codependent. They can't say no. They need them. They need the Jezebel. So it's this codependency, and they need the person. So it's like this back and forth thing. So at the end of the day, it's so important. It is really, really important to really set boundaries with Jezebel. You don't get caught up in scams. Like, you should be able to say no. If you say no to, if you say no to certain things, and the Jezebel starts being passive aggressive on the pulpit, or she starts being passive aggressive, giving you silent treatment, she's giving you silent treatment. She's being passive aggressive. She's using emotional witchcraft. Oh, I did this for you this time. Like, they use emotional witchcraft. They try to guilt trip. If they try to guilt trip, use intimidation, they try to be passive aggressive and stuff like that. They are a scammer. They're entitled. They're exploitive, and it's important to set boundaries, because when you don't, the prophetic women get destroyed by just being exploited and getting scammed by people. And people have selfish ambition. They have selfish ambition. They want to use people for selfish gain, and they want to get credit. They want to steal credit and steal people's energy and time, and they don't even get credit at the end of the day. They're thinking, oh my gosh, why is she so mentally ill? Like, why is she so broken? Why is she so drained? She can't even come out. for a meal. She can't even do this. She can't even do that. And it's because they're drained out. They're doing other things. They're drained out because they're getting used up by people. People got unrealistic expectations, and they think, oh my God, you can't do this one thing for me. You can't do this one thing for me. Everybody wants to use them. Everybody wants to use them, and sometimes they have a breakdown because it's like everybody wants to use them for their gifts, and nobody wants to pour. Nobody wants to give them deliverance. Like nobody wants to give them deliverance or healing. It's just, I want this, I want that. We need to serve. You need to do this. You need to do this for me. Nothing about healing or counseling. Is what I want. I'm power obsessed. I want to be powerful. I need to use you in the process, and that's why some prophetic women are destroyed. And next one is horrible environments, hostile, broken environment. Sometimes some prophetic women are in horrible environments. Maybe you got family members that are toxic. You live with people. You maybe got siblings or people living with you. They're into drugs. They're in criminal activity. They're putting your life at risk. And sometimes your body's on constant flight mode or whatever it is, and your nervous system's scared. You're scared about what's going to happen the next day, and you constantly can't even focus on the Lord, can't even focus on ministry, because you're constantly worried about what's going to happen the next day. You constantly worry about what's going to happen the next day, and this can cause mental illness. It can cause spiritual warfare, and because it could destroy prophetic women if people are going, like, some people are very broken. They're toxic. You have people that are self-harming. They're doing drugs. They're doing criminal activities. They're power hungry. They have money habits. They have money issues. They're always spending so much money, and they have these poor habits. They have all these bad habits, and sometimes when you're in a hostile, broken environment, people that can't control themselves. They have bad anger. They can't control the anger, and you're around people that are broken. You're around people that they can't control themselves, and prophetic women can become a sponge if they're not praying, if they're not secured in themselves, if they're not in purpose, if they're constantly in warfare all the time. They're getting bullied at school, they're getting bullied at college, they're getting horrible work environment, horrible home environment, and there's no way to get peace because it's constant arguments in the home, mood swings and anger and this frustration, like, oh, what's going on, constant, every single time, every single day drama. And there's like issues after issues, jealousy, rivalry, sibling rivalry. It can really destroy a prophetic woman. So it's so important to have limits and figure out we're gonna do and set boundaries. Next one is trauma and spiritual warfare and rejection. Trauma, spiritual warfare, and rejection. Trauma can really destroy a prophetic woman, because I remember like when it comes to grief, being hospitalized, I felt powerless and felt separated from everybody, and especially the demonic encounter I experienced, in the demonic realm. And I thought, what's going on? Why am I seeing this? And I was scared, and my family members couldn't even see what was going on. I saw like skeletons and stuff like that behind the curtain. And I was like, look, look, look. And they couldn't see nothing. I went for spiritual warfare, and it made my body, like, I just felt constantly living in fear, and I was always scared. And even being hospitalized too, because I had hernia and I had some stomach issues. And I was in hospital, and I remember the time when I got my tonsils, I was in hospital. And I felt separated cause sometimes, even if it's little trauma, sometimes traumas can make prophetic women, like, they can end up feeling so traumatized that they try to numb themselves, they try to numb their pain. And what prophetic women need to do is to heal from traumas, to heal from grief, heal properly. It's not easy to lose, it's not easy to deal with grief, it's not easy to be hospitalized and being separated from everybody. And when it comes to spiritual warfare, you should feel safe and be told it's going to be okay. Because sometimes people go through spiritual warfare, and some people are disappointed because they can't use them anymore. And they feel like a burden. And you shouldn't feel like a burden. God still cares for the orphans, and he cares for the poor. He cares for people that are sick. So sometimes people in ministry can like, oh my gosh, you're not doing this for me. what's in it for me? And it's like when you can't perform, when you're not performing for them or helping them or giving them money, they see you as a problem, they see you as a burden. So it's so important to know that you are enough, and don't be ashamed when you go through spiritual warfare, when you're grieving and stuff like that. You are God. God's close to you. God is close to the broken hearted. Don't worry about being a social butterfly and social climbing and trying to seek approval during that time. Fast and pray. And rejection hurts too, because rejection really hurts. That could really hurt a prophetic woman. It could destroy them, because like they want leaders to see their anointing. Sometimes they want to see their gifting and think, oh, okay. But when the leader's like, I'm not sure. When the leader's like, I'm not sure, that can really make them second guess themselves. They might think, okay, was this all in my head? And sometimes even some women, prophetic women, they get prophetic words, but it's not publicly done. You know, they do get prophetic words. Like I got prophetic words, but it weren't in public. It was not in public. It wasn't for everybody to see. So when I see people, doubt my calling or like ignore me, I'm like, oh, okay, that's right. But at the end of the day, rejection does not feel good. It doesn't make them feel good. It makes them second guess themselves, and they might try to do something else. And it gets awkward when God called them again, like, oh, come back, I've got this for you. And they're like, oh, and some people give up. They try to run away, and God like says, you know what, come back, and he restores their pain. And I know that rejection hurts, but you have to know your identity. You have to know your identity and know what God told you, even you go through rejection. And the next one is passive people, Ahabs, enablers. Nothing worse than they're because they're not. I know they're not abusive. They don't say anything, but they can really hinder a prophetic woman and destroy them, because they're not speaking up. They're not saying, you know what, you're being too arrogant. You're being too prideful. I don't like how you treated her. You need to respect her. You can't keep ignoring her. She's not a groupie. She shouldn't have to chase you. We need people that be able to say, you know what, you are being too, like, they need people that speak up for prophetic women and say, you know what, you're being arrogant now. You're being too prideful. You need to stop being prideful. You need to, because some people aren't corrected, and they're not corrected. They're not saying you need to take accountability for this. And I'm really happy that people are actually speaking up and actually taking accountability. But sometimes Ahab's enablers, they are very weak. They're very passive, and they've got low self-worth, and they're desperate for the pastor's approval, so they don't say anything. And the pastor's walking around with his arrogance and his pride, because he's not being corrected. And it's really important to it's really, really important to be honest with people and say, you know what, you are a bit, you're being too rude. Because every week, if it's constantly every week, someone being abused every week is like, and no one saying anything, it can really get really awkward. And they start to say, oh, the church is not growing, but it's because people aren't speaking up, and it's cowards. And you've got to stop being a coward. You've got to stop being a coward and passive, because the pastor's going to start blaming the Ahabs. So, oh, the reason why the church is not growing because of you guys, and he tries to shift blame. But you need to speak up and say, you know what, you're being a bit of a bully, you're being bossy, you're being arrogant, you're being abusive, and you need to stop. If you want church growth, you got to stop this. And sometimes church growth does not always mean that they're doing the right thing. Sometimes it's surrounded by Ahabs. You're just surrounded by passive people that won't say anything. You're surrounded by people that are, sheltered and don't know what's going on. So it's really important not to get arrogant and get full of yourself because of a crowd, because it could be people that are sheltered, that are lukewarm, and people will see crowd and think, oh, I'm doing something. Sometimes you're not. So how to go from Jezebel to Esther? The first one is stop being rebellious and prideful. Stop running away from the call. Don't run away. Even if people doubt you, don't run away. Go and don't you have to have morals. It's important to have morals. And sometimes I used to compromise my values and stuff like that, my morals, because I felt like I had nothing to lose. But you gotta stop being rebellious. Next one is know your identity, even when they doubt. Know who you are. When they doubt, continue to know your identity. Don't let people stop you, or don't doubt yourself. How sometimes people doubt you, but know your identity. And next one is heal. Get wise counsel, forgive people, fast and pray, and validate your pain experiences. You can validate your pain experiences, and it's important to fast and pray, because sometimes people try to gaslight you and brainwash you and say, you didn't go through that. They try to numb you because they want you to just be a robot. They want you to just be numb and listen to everything they say. Next one, be selfless and be in purpose and find solutions. Be kind. Give to the homeless. Give money to the homeless. You could just do something purposeful, be selfless, be kind, and find solutions. It's really, and be charitable. Give money. Give money to church, and just be giving and caring and charitable, because it can help you. It can really empower you, make you feel strong. It can strengthen you, and it could, because sometimes when you go through hurt and bitterness, sometimes you end up being self-absorbed and selfish and think, oh, I don't trust anybody again. But it's important to guard your heart, not harden it. Hope that helped. If you need any counsel or coaching or prayer requests, email me. Thank you for listening.